Silver is now inside your phone, your car, your solar panels, and the data center that ran the AI model you used this morning. And the mines cannot keep up. This is the 5th year in a row the world has used more silver than it dug out of the ground. And almost nobody is talking about what that actually means for the price you will pay to own it. I'm going to show you the mechanism behind this shortage, the exact industries driving it, and why the setup right now is more extreme than anything I have seen in decades of watching this market. By the end of this video, you will understand why silver's story is no longer just a monetary story, it is an industrial survival story. And once you see it, you will never look at a silver chart the same way again. Welcome back to Gold and Silver Analysts. If you want to understand what's actually driving these metals, not the headlines, not the hype, the real mechanics, hit subscribe right now because that's exactly what we break down here every single week. Let's start with a question. Most financial media refuses to ask clearly. Why is silver structurally different from every other commodity you've heard about? Gold sits in vaults. It gets mined, refined, and stored. It doesn't disappear. Almost every ounce of gold ever mined still exists somewhere today. Silver does not work that way. Silver gets used. It gets soldered into circuit boards, burned into solar cells, welded into batteries, and once it's there, it is gone, unrecoverable, destroyed in the manufacturing process. That single fact changes everything about how you should think about supply. Write this down because once you understand this sequence, you will recognize it every time it shows up in a price chart. Step 1. Global industrial demand for silver has been accelerating for over a decade, driven by 3 sectors that did not meaningfully exist as silver consumers 20 years ago: solar, electric vehicles, and now AI infrastructure. Step 2. Silver has the highest electrical conductivity of any element on the periodic table. Nothing commercially viable has replaced it in these applications. Not copper, not aluminum, nothing. Step 3. Mine supply has been essentially flat for over a decade because roughly 70% of the world's silver is not mined on purpose. It comes out of the ground as a byproduct of copper, lead, and zinc mining. Producers cannot simply decide to dig up more silver in response to rising prices. Step 4. When demand accelerates and supply cannot respond, you get a structural deficit, not a one-year anomaly, a repeating, compounding shortfall. This is now the 5th consecutive year the world has consumed more silver than it has produced. Let that sit with you for a second. 5 years. 5 years of drawing down existing above-ground stockpiles just to meet demand. And those stockpiles are not infinite. Now, let's talk about the 3 forces actually driving this, because each one alone would matter. Together, they are historic. Force number 1, solar. Every solar panel manufactured on Earth uses silver paste in its photovoltaic cells, because silver is what carries the electrical current the panel generates. The International Energy Agency projects solar capacity will roughly triple by the end of this decade compared to where it stood just a few years ago. Triple. And silver is not a trace ingredient in that build-out. It is a core functional component with no substitute at commercial scale. That demand is not price sensitive either, because the cost of silver represents a small fraction of a solar panel's total system cost. Manufacturers are not going to redesign their entire production line because silver got more expensive. They are going to keep buying it. Force number 2, electric vehicles. An EV requires somewhere between 2 and 3 times more silver than a conventional gasoline vehicle because of the additional electrical connections, battery management systems, and sensors packed into every one of these cars. Every charging station, every grid upgrade required to support mass EV adoption, all of it runs on silver-based components. The entire electrification of global transportation is quietly, mechanically, a silver demand story. And force number 3, the one almost nobody discusses: AI infrastructure. Every server rack, every advanced chip, every high-density data center being built right now to train and run artificial intelligence models requires silver in its wiring and connectors. As AI investment has exploded globally over the past 2 years, a new and largely unpriced source of industrial silver demand has quietly attached itself to the market. This is not a future possibility. This is happening right now, in this exact moment, while most retail investors are still thinking about silver as a coin in a drawer. 3 forces: solar, EVs, and AI, all accelerating simultaneously, all requiring a metal whose supply has not meaningfully grown in over a decade. Here's where most people get this wrong. They see silver's price swing violently, up 30% in a month, down 20% the next, and they conclude the shortage story must be false because if there really were a structural deficit, wouldn't the price just go up in a straight line? No. And this is the part that separates people who understand markets from people who react to them. Short-term price is dictated by interest rates, the dollar, and speculative futures positioning. Long-term price is dictated by physical reality. And those two things can disagree with each other for a long time before the physical reality wins. It always wins eventually, it just doesn't win on your schedule. Now, here's something genuinely alarming that most people never hear about because it doesn't show up in the headlines. When physical silver becomes hard to source, buyers in tight physical markets start paying a premium above the standard global reference price just to get their hands on real metal instead of a paper contract. When that premium spikes, it tells you something the futures price is not telling you. It tells you that somewhere in the world, real silver, the kind you can hold, is getting difficult to find. That has happened before, multiple times. And every time it has happened, it has preceded a period of extreme volatility in the price everyone actually sees. So where does this leave you? Two types of people are watching this shortage unfold right now. The first type looks at a volatile price chart, gets shaken out on every drawdown, and concludes the story is overhyped. They will not be positioned when the deficit finally overwhelms the available stockpiles. The second type understands that mine supply is structurally inelastic, that 3 entire sectors of the modern economy are now competing for a metal that cannot be manufactured faster, and that 5 consecutive years of deficit does not resolve itself quietly. That second type is not trying to time the exact bottom. They understand that the mechanism, more demand, flat supply, disappearing inventory, does not care what the price does next week. I'm not telling you this is guaranteed. Nothing in markets is guaranteed, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. And what I am telling you is that the setup, 3 simultaneous, accelerating, non-substitutable sources of industrial demand colliding with a decade of flat mine supply, is one of the most structurally sound deficit stories in any commodity market today. The window where this is still under-discussed, where mainstream financial media is still treating silver as a monetary sideshow to gold, that window is closing. Not because I say so. Because the math behind it does not leave much room for another interpretation. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of what's actually happening underneath the silver price, hit subscribe to Gold and Silver Analysts, because we track this deficit, the industrial demand data, and the smart money positioning every single week, and you do not want to be finding out about the next leg of this story after it has already happened. I'll see you in the next one.